record. All right, that should be running. Perfect. All right, we are recording. We've got people in here. Jared, how are you, mate?
I'm doing great. Doing good now that I'm here.
Awesome. Well, mate, look, thank you so much for coming in today. So today, for our community and everyone who's here and post this later, we're going to be talking about lead journey development. I just wanted to explain how we got here today. So, Jared, I've seen you in the high level community a few times. You're part of our community. Basically, why I asked you in the first place, I kind of reached out because you post a lot of like gold, basically, I would say, in the high level forum. Like, you're a great contributor in there to that community. But there was one particular post that you put in there one day about lead gen, and you just outlined it. Like you just sort of nailed it from your own experience, from running leads for your own business, the challenges you had, how you'd overcome them, and it was so good. I was like, mate, can you just come on and just explain
Yeah.
this to our audience because you wrote it out so well. So that's what
Yeah.
we're going to talk about today, like the psychology behind lead gen and conversion, and then what it
Sure.
takes to kind of turn someone from cold traffic to hand over money to you, basically.
It's,
Um,
it's yeah.
yep. So before we do that, mate, if you don't mind, would you just give us a little intro about yourself, sort of what you're doing, your journey in high level through your business, using it, and all those kind of things, and just let everybody know, sort of, what
Yeah.
you've done
So
and why we should listen to this today, because I think it's going to be valuable, basically.
my journey in high level started in 2023. I was exposed to the software via a guy that I had hired to help me market because I was kind of focused on sales at the time with my business. And previous to that, for 20 some years, I was a control systems engineer developing HMI. It's a human machine interface. So graphic design, touch screens, things like that in a factory. People go up to a control screen, make stuff work. So I was very familiar with like the graphical elements of color and how, people's eyes can be, their mindset and things like that with what they see on a screen, because that's part of how that industry works. In the sense of like if someone were to walk into a control room and see red all over the screens, obviously maybe that's a problem, right? Anyway, so uh, you know, going into like paid ads and stuff, those type of skills are important because contrasting colors, things like that. You got to get people to stop the scroll and whatnot. But quick circling back, I got into high level on via a sub account like a lot of people do, and the guy really wasn't that good with high level. He wasn't all that good with marketing, and I actually started. He was sending me his ads to edit, and then he was uh kind of like gave me admin access to his account because he didn't know how to do any of the automations or programming, which I had the experience in. That's why I mentioned that stuff. So I was really good at it. And even though high level was new to me, I wasn't new to like, making things work programmatically. And so I built out I was running a life insurance agency. I built everything out. It took me like 2 or 3 months, to learn it all, do it all, and it's rolling. And at that point, he really wasn't doing much for me. Kind of was like, why am I paying you? And one day I logged in and like he dumped a snapshot in. He didn't know what he was doing and blew away everybody's stuff. So like my whole business was gone. And it was like I called him up. I'm like, yo, we have a problem, and I'm gonna have to just like you're gonna have to refund me what's left of this month's that I've paid you, and I'm just gonna get my own high level account. So we're still friends, but that was a problem. And so yeah, so that's how I got into it. And then I was like, you know what? I love this platform. This is amazing. And at the time, I was running a call center in the Philippines. I was running a life insurance business. I was licensed in 22 states. I was running Facebook ads in 22 states. I had 15 agents all across, most of the U.S. coast to coast. And you know, things were going okay, but getting a sales team to work when you're kind of just giving everything to them is more difficult than I anticipated. And I really like the marketing side of it and the high level side of it. So I just had to make a business decision about the end of 2023 or 2020, yeah, towards the end of 2023 of like, do I want to just focus on marketing and high level and lead gen for other businesses, or do I want to, continue trying to run the whole ship myself, where now I have to train and build up a sales team because I can't sit in the sales seat and run ad campaigns and do, admin. I can't do all the hats at once. It's too many full-time jobs at the same time. So that's where I basically, all right, I'm going to go all in on high level. I'm going to go all in on, helping whoever I can with this, as well as, um, as myself. And so that's kind of where I am now. I was very successful on the lead gen part of it and got my calendar for the agents pretty much slammed full. When before that, I was buying leads and it was a disaster. And so that's kind of what I got into this here. Uh, I'm not sure where you guys are on your journeys with any of it, but buying leads and in and of itself is inherently a problem, because of the lead journey being impossible to actually put together with that model. It's inherently broken, and it just doesn't work. Uh, if you define work as what we're going to get into, um, because a lot of people are doing it in a way that is really a bad experience for their leads, and then it creates a bad experience for the sales team. And overall, I think the brand and company image is hurt, because of it. And so I fixed that for myself. I didn't know what I didn't know until I started, and took 2 years to kind of get it all figured out. Um, but yeah, so that's an overview. I don't want to go too far into but yeah, so.
Awesome, Matt. So before we kind of dive into everything here, we've got a few people on with us now. So guys, if you have questions at any time, you can pop your hand up. We'll do questions if you need answering on anything as we go through, or pop them in the chat. We'll try and keep an eye on that. Or we'll do a little Q&A at the end. Jared will be happy to answer any questions. Guys, if you've got your cameras as well, if you're able to put them on, that's awesome. We love looking to a room of smiley faces as well. So if you can put them on, great. If you're in your PJs in bed looking at this on your phone and you don't want to put it on, you got your hair in rollers, then that's fine. We understand. It's all good. All right, perfect. So, Jared, like you talked about sort of what got you into it and lead gen, some of the challenges with sales teams running all that type of thing. But what's like the hardest part that you've had along the journey, would you say, from like running a fairly large successful company, having agents everywhere, and then you've transferred to here? Yeah, what have you learned along there? What's been the hardest part along that journey?
Yeah, so I would say, I'm trying to see where that lines up with our notes here. Yeah, there's been a ton of challenges. Honestly, the hardest part is uh, do I push or do I pivot? Right? Because every day you deal with what's on the table in front of you, and it's like, okay, if this isn't working, do I do I continue to try to make this work, or do I switch to something else because this is as far as it'll go? That's really the hardest thing, and that's going to be unique for each person. I know that's not a granular response to your question. Um, as far as lead gen goes, uh, I would say the hardest thing is really finding out and learning what keeps your ideal client profile, your ICP, what keeps them awake at night. What is the thing that is most important to them, that if you can expose them to your solution, it will start to turn the tables, where you're not having to chase them to sell them something. They're actually interested in potentially talking with you, having, going to your landing page, watching your video sales letter, whatever it may be, right? And that's really where it all starts. I didn't know what any of that stuff even was. And that was really the turning point of like, okay, I need to build all of my marketing, all of my campaigns, my entire lead journey needs to be built with a focus on what does this look like from the customer's side? When they read this particular piece of text, what are they thinking? What does it make them feel like? Do they want to click? Is there a curiosity built? And then when they do click, do they feel satisfied that they clicked? Or do they feel like they got, something was too much was taken from them, right? Or as you're moving them along the journey, are you giving them too much information at a certain point? And when I say too much, I mean enough information for them to make a decision before they get to your call to action. And that's really where the only way you'll be able to answer those questions effectively is if you're starting with the basic blueprint of like, okay, who exactly is my target market? What are their pain points? And then I'm going to craft my offer based on that. I'll give an example in the life insurance space. A lot of pretty much, well, you just sell everything to everybody. And I tried that, didn't really work. Then when I said, well, wait a minute, why don't I apply basic marketing principles and say, I have all these carriers of all these different types of products for different types of people, and there's all different types of people out there. So I was like, all right, well, what if you took one carrier that had really the best rates and preferable policies for maybe a truck driver who's of a certain age and health condition, and then you matched up your entire marketing funnel for that one product for that one target market, right? So now your ad, instead of saying life insurance, get a free quote, says something related to, with truck drivers, right? That's going to stop the scroll. They're going to relate to that way better than, if they're just scrolling, but you can't even begin that process to you understand, like, yeah, I have to start my whole lead journey from what they see, what they click on. All of it has to be like, this is for me, this is for me, this is for me, all the way through the funnel till they get on the call with you or they self checkout, depending on your offer, if it's, if they're able to check out or not. And so that, understanding that that's what has to happen. There's no way around that. Because if you don't do that, then it's going to be the other way. You're going to be chasing them at some point. At some point, you're going to be, they're just not going to be interested, whether they see the ad and you just, harvest their phone number and kind of, oh, if someone will call you back. No, that's going to be a death sentence for your campaigns. And that was one of the key elements in that text that I brought up, was that so many people run lead gen, and I think it's partly Facebook's fault because they do this by default. They pretty much say, okay, a lead form ad is essentially give me your phone number and someone will call you back.
Mm.
By default, it's that. Now, if you integrate with high level or another CRM, you don't have to have that, because that's a terrible, terrible lead journey, right? If you call somebody at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you expect the company to be open and nobody answers, you get voicemail. What are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to wait and I'll just call back and see if they answer in 30 minutes. Now, if maybe they're the only ones around, maybe, but 99% of people are going to say, who's next in the list? Where's my next contractor in Google Maps? Where's the next pizza shop? Right? They're not waiting for anything. Nobody wants to wait. And I was like, the problem of having to chase people is the genesis of that, when you're doing paid lead gen, starts at that broken spot in your lead journey. They're looking at cat memes, they're scrolling through, they see your video, they see your image, right? Your copy there builds curiosity to where they feel like they need to click your call to action, right? So each step of your funnel, you have to sell the next click. You're not selling the offer. They don't even need to know what the offer is. You need to sell a click because that's all they see. So what are they going to want to see to click learn more? Then they click learn more or whatever it is. If you plaster them with a survey, the second they click learn more, you fail. Because when someone says learn more, their mind is in the mode of, okay, I want to learn more. I don't want you to ask me a bunch of questions yet. So you need to give them more information on that next page that they see in relation to the offer, so they can consume that information and build that value and build that trust in what you're proposing to them, right? And each step of those things that they're reading builds that curiosity to the next thing. And then after maybe, 1 or 2 pages in your, this can all be done right on Facebook. I think I had about like 5 steps in my Facebook lead form that I ran, most of the time is pretty much basic. This was the format. And so then it's like after they self-qualify in the sense of they're continuing to go through, then you get to the questions part. But the questions are relevant and to whatever the offer is, to where they would want to answer. So I'll give you an example. For insurance is a regulated industry. The only way to get a true quote is to talk to a licensed agent that can actually log into the platform and get real numbers, from the carriers. Nobody, no random person can do that, at least in the US. There are some companies that offer quotes to the public, but those really aren't the greatest plans. So that was one of the angles I always used, was like, hey, are you sick and tired of getting fake online quotes and just having a bunch of people blow your phone up? You submit your information one time and 50 people call you. Yes, everybody hated that. People that were looking for life insurance, that's like one of their biggest annoyances. I was like, hey, well, you can completely avoid that by booking a call with one of our independent licensed agents. They can search all the carriers for you and do all the legwork, and you don't have to bother doing any of that. You can get all the quotes and their real numbers. Are you interested in getting the real number, what it actually is going to cost you every month for actual coverage? Absolutely, right? That's right in the lead form. And so by the time they get through that, they want to get on a phone call. You have generated desire. And that's the other thing. People talk about lead quality. I'm like, the lead quality is literally based on what you're saying. Your messaging determines lead quality. The idea of putting in friction so you only get the best quality leads to them, like putting in friction for like what? That no one is scrolling Facebook. This is display advertising. All right. Search is a whole different ballgame. But display advertising, there is no interest. There's nothing. You have to put something out there first
Yeah,
for that person
you're
to care
interrupting
about.
them.
Yeah, you have to put something out there first for them to care about what you even have to say. And then you build that interest and desire in your messaging to where by the time they get to the end of that, now they want to book a call. And that's the last step of really the key part is once they get there, you've got them interested. They're cruising along. The last thing you want to do is say, well, thanks for your phone number. Someone will give you a call back. That's ridiculous, right? I stopped doing that. I gave people three options because, and this I broke this down the Facebook post too, and I found that it was almost an even distribution of leads that came in through all three channels because, and it makes sense when I get into these, you'll know why. So you never know when someone's going to see your ad. They could be at work, they could be on lunch break, they could be laying in their bed at 10 o'clock at night, right? So if you have one call to action only, like say you just have, well, I want to get live calls. I want the highest intent leads so they can call in. Okay, well, someone could be very interested, but at 10:30 at night, they're not going to call in. So they're just going to bounce because you just stopped them in their lead journey from moving forward. They have no option. There's call and then it's 10:30. So you just lost that lead. So you wouldn't want only one thing. You do need call because lots of people want to call. Think about it. Billboards and TV commercials ran for decades, and the only option was to call in now. And they made lots of money. People forget about that. It's like, well, no one's going to want to call right away. You need 7 steps and 7 touch points. Well, but I was like, 7 touch points. People drove by the billboard at 80 miles an hour, watched one TV commercial, and they called in. It has to do with product market fit. They don't, I mean, so give the option to call in. It gives you credibility too. Give the option for them to book a call, right? Because there's some people like, hey, it's 10:30 at night. I'm in my bed, but I do want to have a conversation with someone about this because I'm very interested. So I'm going to grab a spot tomorrow on the calendar or whatever. And there's a third option you should give people because there's some people that say you're off for a day and maybe you're retired. I sold to a lot of retired folks. So they know they have, or maybe you have a morning off. You're like, look, I'll be running around tomorrow morning. I don't know. In their mind, they're thinking, you're always thinking about what's your prospect going to think. They're thinking, I don't want to dedicate like a time block to where I have to stop what I'm doing to do this, but I'm available. So just call me tomorrow at some point between these two times. So you give them a third option of book a call, schedule a call back between, in the morning, afternoon, or evening for like a 4-hour block, right? And that's it. So those three options cover everything. There's never a situation where someone's going to go through a funnel and get to points like, yeah, I prefer just give my contact information and just have someone randomly call me back whenever. Like that's not human psychology. That doesn't even make sense, right? You give them the three options to cover all three scenarios. And I ran those campaigns with those three, and it was almost an even split of people that would either call in, book appointments, or schedule callbacks. And then you follow up with the automations with high level on the back end, if they do schedule and whatnot, and you could text them and like, it's simple, but it took me, a year and a half to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, I think, and if I can just kind of bring that back to where you really started, there's a lot that you just actually unloaded there, right? If everybody kind of managed to
Sorry.
cover it. No, it's good.
There's a
Like,
mountain of
there's a
knowledge.
mountain of stuff in there, right? But I think where
Yeah.
you started there, right, was like a really good point about your ICP, right? So your ideal customer profile. If people didn't catch this at the beginning, and this to me is a little bit different to niching, right? Because people talk about niching. You go, okay, what do you want to niche into? Well, I want to niche into mechanics or whatever it might be. All right. And you go, okay, I'm going to go after mechanics, right? But this is like a little another level into your niche, right? So it's your ideal customer profile. So, okay, it's a mechanic, but do you want to go after mechanics that are at a certain revenue? They've got a certain number of staff. Maybe you want to do mechanics that only focus in Ford or whatever it might be, right? You're kind of really niching into the niche with your ideal customer profile because not all mechanics are going to be your ideal customer. All right. So if you've got
No.
that, then you've got an ad or a piece of content that really talks to people that when they read it, then they're engaged. And then that's
Yeah.
different to what you were talking about there with like, putting roadblocks in to qualify people to make them want to contact you. You're not
Yep.
putting the
I've never
roadblocks in.
found that to be effective at all. It's the
Yeah,
opposite.
definitely not with
It
Facebook
does.
ads, but
Yeah.
you're not putting the roadblocks in. You're actually putting in like the right information for them to go down that path because they read it and it resonates with them. They go, oh, that
Exactly.
is me. I
Yeah.
am that mechanic. I do only service Ford. I do want to grow past $2 million
Yep.
dollars a year in revenue or whatever. And I am stuck at $900,000. I can't break the $1 million, whatever that might be, right? That's
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
So then they're reading it and then they go, oh, that is me. That is where I want to go. And then you can help
Yeah.
them. Plus
There's
for,
another, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I was going to say, but like, plus for you, when you have those people come through, now you know the conversation that you can have with them because, you know, you ask them and obviously you're going to do that sort of bit of discovery when you have a conversation with someone, but you kind of know what the path is. It makes it so much easier for you to do the
Oh yeah.
sale, the product,
And
the
they,
marketing,
they're,
like everything.
yeah, it all comes together and they're kind of pre-sold like sales. If you think of the sales funnel, it's comprised of two main sections. It's comprised of marketing and order taking. And a lot of people want to hate on order taking and say, well, if you're just an order taker, that's lazy. Not really, because someone who's a real estate agent, they put in a lot after somebody says yes before there's any money. And the same with a life insurance agent. But it's like, okay, you're talking on the call and they say, all right, I want to go forward. You still then need to find a carrier that's going to give them the rates they want. If you're a loan officer, once someone says yes, then you got to go find a bank that's going to qualify them for the rates they want for whatever they want. Are they trying to buy an RV? Are they trying to buy a house? Whatever it is, like the, don't underestimate how important the order taking part is in sales. But the marketing part is the part, everything before they say yes is marketing, and everything after they say yes is order taking. Combined together, it's sales, right? And a lot of people don't realize that the top half of sales is marketing. And so when you're cold calling and stuff, the whole conversation you're having before they say yes is you're marketing. You're marketing to them, whether you're using NEPQ, whatever. And so that process you can put into your ads, you can put into your lead journey. You can, once again, you can't do any of it till you figure out who you're selling to and what you're selling to them. But once you get past that ICP build out phase, then it's like, all right, now I know exactly what I can plug in here. So that way, by the time the most expensive resource gets consumed, which is live human warm body time on the phone or whatever, that person has all that they need. I mean, honestly, even pricing, unless it's really customized services, I really am a strong proponent for keeping pricing very clear or at least a range of pricing because, you know, I've seen too many calls where it's like everything's great and they get to the end, they're like, okay, well, how much is it? It's like, what, first of all, again, natural human psychology, when you're having a conversation with somebody, if they have no idea how much it is, that's the pink elephant in their mind that they're kind of, that's just they're hanging there throughout the whole conversation. There's this anxiety of like, I don't know how much this all sounds great, but then they're just constantly thinking about because they know that checkbox is not checked off. They don't know how much it costs. And I strongly feel it takes away from the quality of the sales conversation versus like if they're calling you and they know it's a $5,000 offer, that doesn't need to be, you don't have to get to the end and have this huge like objection handling and all this stuff over price. I got to talk to my wife. Like that all goes away. You can
Mm.
eliminate closing objections by making sure price and value and proposition is clearly defined in your marketing. And you can eliminate opening objections by not randomly calling people outside of an appointment time. So it's like all this effort and time goes into training people with like opening objection handling, closing objection handling. Like, why don't you just fix your model so you don't have opening and closing objection handling? You know what I mean? Like, short of you, I mean, if someone gets on a sales call with you and they know how much it costs, they've seen all your content, whether it's video or your ads or whatever, and they know it's for them, short of you literally lying about what you're selling or just completely bombing the call like you're just drunk or something when you get on the phone call, like for the most part, or maybe they don't qualify, if it's something like that, they might try to get credit and they can't, but there are technical things, but those should really be the only things that could cause the deal not to go through. Like you shouldn't be getting people on the phone that are like, they haven't even decided if they want to buy yet. Wait, like, what are we doing? It's 2025. You can put a video on there for them to watch, even after they book. That's a huge thing. The thank you page is a massive opportunity now, and that we just really for a lot of times didn't use in industry and marketing, where like you can give them all the next steps that they need and continue to hook that value, and that your show rate goes really high when you can really pack the value before the call, right? To continue that momentum of them going from where they are to where they want to be, and you being the answer to that problem that you're helping them solve. So
Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of people that watch this as well who are kind of in the beginning of their journey and trying to get customers and leads and all those kind of things, right, as well. And you touched here on like system proof, right? So proof, feedback, testimonials, whatever it might be. You've got to have some stuff that people will see and they go, oh, okay, this person's legit. They have a case study, they have a testimonial, hopefully more than one. And something I always say to people, right, they're always asking this, how do I get started? All right. And I think that
Yeah,
systems proof is just like such a valuable part of it, like having that on your website. And I just always tell people, right, you need that first of all. And if you don't have that, then you haven't done it anyway. So if you haven't done it anyway, go and find three businesses that are friendly to you and say, hey,
sure.
can I fix this problem for you? Or do you have a problem that I can fix? Do that for them and get a case study and get a testimonial and do that work for free so that you have got some proof. And then you actually know how to do it as well anyway. Because if you haven't done that
Yeah,
and got that proof, then I'm not sure you should be out there like selling it to people anyway and saying that, hey, I can do this because you haven't done it. But go and do it for free. And
sure.
that's your cost of education, basically, to go and
Yeah.
do that for free. And
If
don't be
if you're
afraid to
providing
do
a
that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're providing a service, certainly the only outside would be like, and I think I have this in here for, like you said, the systems proof would be like if you're selling a productized digital service, like an AI chatbot or something. Like, hey, I've already prompted this to be like really good with solar lead qualification, and you can do a live demo where it's like, yeah, it's going to ask the prospect, what if they have sunshine or the angle of this, all the stuff that they would, you know, then you can just show the systems proof because they're not really buying you or what you're doing. They're buying what you've made and you're showing them that it's going to give them what they want, right? So that's kind of like the other side of where it's like if you don't have any social proof, can you have some sort of systems proof for what you're going to do? And
I
if you
would
can,
still say have the
leverage that.
social proof and go and give
Oh,
that to
sure.
three clients anyway. So, hey, I'm going to give you this. I
Yeah.
want you to test it for a week and then give me a testimonial.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Every iron in the fire. Yeah.
just
Every
give it
iron in the
away.
fire.
I
Yeah.
think
Because
people
if
worry
it's
about
SaaS, it should be cheap enough that you can do that,
exactly. And I think people
and,
worry about giving it away. Go, oh, I can't afford to give it away. I need to get a client today because I got to pay the bills or whatever, which I get. And I totally understand that. But
yeah.
giving something away
Ronnie has a
today is
question.
going to come back fivefold in the future.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sure. So Ronnie, what was it Ronnie said there? So what about when it is an industry like the insurance industry or the mortgage industry where there are key pieces of information attached to price? Good question, Ronnie.
So I was in, I'm not sure if he was on or not. I ran a life insurance agency. And so what I did, so for instance, and nobody did this in the industry. And basically, so their health conditions could be affecting the price, right? So if someone has a health condition, then they're going to qualify for a certain, range of pricing. Well, when you go through that ICP process, you might say, hey, I'm going to have burial insurance, final expense insurance for people with diabetes. You then go to a carrier that has the best options for that particular client avatar. And you know that you're going to market now to that person, your ad is literally going to say, do you have diabetes or whatever it is, right? This is for you. And now you don't have to worry about so much, well, whether they're going to qualify or not, because you're reverse engineering the whole thing. And you're saying, okay, this person here's what I'd said. I said, look, the carriers have already gone out of their way and competed with each other to develop the products for the market. You don't need to come up with anything new. Just line up the dots, find the ones that have what you have that's best for what you want, and then put price ranges. So in my Facebook ads, they saw like, okay, just so you know, the average price, because I knew what they qualify for, because the qualification questions were literally taken from the application. So if they could not qualify for the product offer unless they answered the questions appropriately. So if they qualified there, then I knew what type of coverage they would get, assuming they weren't lying. And it would say it's going to be about $130 a month, but between 100 to 130 for, $10,000 in coverage or something like that for burial insurance. They knew the price and then they knew they were going to get a live call. So they knew the pricing. They knew they had to talk to somebody. All that was done, I wouldn't even get the information into high level. They didn't get to the part where they submitted their phone number until they got through those questions. Because I didn't want them to. I did not want them in my system if they didn't know a range of the price it was going to cost them and that they knew they were going to have to talk to, and they wanted to talk to someone on the phone. The marketing didn't do its job yet if you didn't get them to that point, because now if you don't, they're going to get on the phone, they're not going to know, you're going to have price objections, or they're going to not be qualified. I'm like, well, I have a heart attack yesterday, why can't I get level coverage day one? It's like, no. You know what I mean? So that's really, now that's one industry specific. And you mentioned insurance, mortgage is obviously different. You would just plug in the same type of idea there, like, what are the offers available on the market? Because when you're, whatever you're selling, you're either selling your own product and you should have gone through all this when you were doing product development, or you're selling someone else's product, right? Or service or whatever. You should have, if you're selling someone else's product, then just pick the person that, the industry, carrier, for instance, in insurance that has the closest to who you want to sell to, would be my recommendation for that. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, so hopefully answers your question, Ronnie. But let's talk about that, like product fit. So making sure that you actually have a product that the market wants, right? How do you get to that stage, like really quickly, like MVPs in the market, and then build on that with feedback
Yeah.
from real customers, rather than spending like there's going to be a lot of
Build
procrastination
first.
with high level and tech tools, right? We're all looking for like, oh God, what's the chatbot that's going to work best for me?
Ugh, yeah.
What's this or what's that? How do I make a workflow absolutely perfect? Do I need three commas and an
Oh,
exclamation mark
spent
or an emoji?
spent so long.
Like
So
how do we move? Like we always got to move forward, right?
yeah, yeah.
Perfect inaction is better than perfect
Here's
imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Sorry, got that wrong
yeah.
again.
The acid test that I found with that is um, automate as needed. And coming from 20 years of automation, I started with the idea of like, okay, anything and everything that could possibly be even like the most edge case scenario, I'm going to automate. That's an instant fail because you're never going to even have those probably. And the situations you end up actually having, you're going to have to revamp anyway. So I would say start everything with a manual process, even with your lead follow-ups, because you don't know what you're going to need to say or what's going to be effective. And the thing with automation is it's very front end loaded. You're going to spend a lot of time to build it out, and that's an investment in the long tail of like, okay, it's going to then perform for me, forever after that. Well, the smartest way to go about something like that would be to do the homework and find out first what's going to be worth that investment, right? You don't just spend all the time and money and everything to build something without having any data to, okay. So, so circling back to what you said, you know, you can just ask your customers, ask leads. You could do surveys. Again, this is like just agnostic for any industry, finding out what people might be interested in, what they might want, pre-launches, I mean, everything at every level, right? Like Tesla with cars, people do it for training programs. Hey, I'm going to do a cohort, whatever you're selling, right? Start with first feedback of what people might want, and then go with, okay, let's come up with a minimum viable company, minimum viable product, and like the whole website. The websites, like you just have one, grab a high level template. Like these people in the high level group, oh, who's going to build me a custom high level website? I'm like, what could you possibly be doing that requires so much customization? You can't use one of the 1,000 templates that are there and just put what you need on it. Like it blows my mind. And it's like, just put it there. People just want to see, okay, they check the box, they have a website. No, I mean, the only time like conversion optimization comes into play with landing pages is if you're driving tons of traffic and now it's like, all right, I'm going to split test the red background versus the blue background to see if it's a 1%. Like, okay, when you're playing in that ballpark, that's like a whole nother, like 99% of people starting out, that's not even where you are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You don't even worried about how to like fix the Rolls Royce transmission when you're driving around in a Chevy. Like, stop, start where you are, because you can't start a bike out in the hardest gear going up a hill. You got to start moving somewhere and just getting it out there. The time can pass so fast where you're just like playing around in the software, whatever it is, like income generating activity, get, DMs, what, if you're doing content marketing, I had a list here of stuff. Hormozy talks about this. If you haven't read the offers and leads, I've read them both. Um, but that's the thing. Do the thing that's going to get the needle moving to get feedback as fast as possible, because then every decision you make from that point forward is going to be based on real market feedback and not what you're just sitting around thinking might be a good idea, because most of the time it's not, so, and even when you have that feedback, the stuff still doesn't work. You know how many projects Google starts and we never even hear about and they abandon them? Like, they're starting them because they think it's probably going to work. They're not just wasting their time. But then those projects, and we only see the few that cream of the crop. So that happens at every level. You just have to be careful with how much time you spend on things that you really don't know are going to be like, does
And the
anyone even want
value of it
this?
too, right? I saw to Rob Bailey and he was basically saying, he said, look, unless you're doing at least like 50K a month, spend your time on just getting more sales, more leads. Don't worry about split testing. Don't worry about those
Yeah.
refinements too much. All right. Obviously, there's exceptions, right, to this stuff, right? If you've got something that's terrible, fix it as you go. You might know that it's terrible. You need to tweak it, right? But you're saying like, unless you're doing 50K a month, don't worry too much about that stuff, because the amount of additional revenue that like a 1% tweak can make you is going to be like, that's $500, right? Well, $500 is great, right? But how much time does it to get to do that 1% tweak? Focus on getting another lead and another sale, bringing in more until you've
Yeah.
got to at least that kind of 50K a month mark, because you can just do that by, you know, calling people, having conversations, building your brand, like the basic stuff that you can do really quickly with like a template
Yep.
website, as you said. Put that
Yep.
template up, put your logo on it, put your brand colors on
Just
there,
go.
use
Yep.
ChatGPT, put some sales
Absolutely.
copy on it. You
Yep.
should have a website up and running in the day pretty easily, right? That's not a long-term
Yeah.
vision now. And then
Yeah.
in the future, when you really want to like dial it in and pay someone to Figma design it and make it all beautiful and brandified and branded videos and all that kind of stuff, do that then. All right. Get your
Yeah.
sales in first. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's you're just flying blind really if you don't have real feedback. And not just from what people say, but what people do. I'll give you for instance, on my you know, in my lead journey, when someone would transition, right, I call it platforms, they transition their environment. So if they start on Facebook and you send them to a landing page, that's a transition. Or if they start on Facebook and they fill out their form and the next step is for it to be an SMS or some type of lead qualification, you want to make sure that anytime there's a transition, that step, yeah, as much care is taken on that step in their lead journey as the other steps before that. Like, what am I putting in the copy to get them to want to click, to expand it, to read more? What am I saying there to going to get them to want to click, learn more? What am I satisfying that click for? All that stuff. If you get to the end and it's like, you set up automations to then send them something or hey, you're going to have an appointment, but make sure you tell them that in the step previously. Or if you're going to take them to a landing page, make sure that when they click, it's that they know they're going to do it. And then when they get there, that you've got copy that's there that confirms with them they're seeing exactly, if it's an offer, get 30% off. When they click the button, the next thing should be like big 30% off. I'm just as a hypothetical example, because people bounce and you see the metrics in the funnel steps. It's like they bounce over like the most trivial stuff. Perfect example, calendar booking. I split tested sending people a link versus sending people versus AI conversations back when what was they didn't even have high level had the Eliza booking bot,
Eliza.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I had ChatGPT actually shut down my call center once I had in 2023 GPT 3.5. I was able to integrate with Zapier and just had conversational AI booking people before any of this stuff came out. And if you book them conversationally versus sending them a link, half the people just don't click the link. They don't want to get out of the frame of the flow of what they're in.
Mhm.
Right. And so it's like, okay, so just book it conversationally because they'll keep chatting, they'll keep staying there. But as soon as you click the link, it's like, I don't want to click that because
Yeah.
there's just, what I mean? It's just
I'll do that
so,
later
so
because I need to check with my wife. Are we doing
yeah,
it
what I
on
mean,
Friday? Whatever it might be. Yep.
that's a friction point that's like unnecessary. You don't want to do it. And so you want a conversation to book them and just kind of like tighten up the funnel as much as possible because you're going to lose people at every step no matter what. But there's a balance between like getting them far enough along to where they're invested and you've given enough value, but not to where like it's so long, like a 15 question survey where you can't see how many questions are left. After like question 5 or 6, people are like, this is stupid, right? Like that's the worst idea ever. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. These people that come up with this stuff, it's like, you're just wasting your money is all you're doing. People are clicking, they're getting through 4 or 5 questions. They're obviously interested and they're not continuing because you think it's a good idea to have 15 questions or even 5 questions, but they don't see what's next.
Yeah.
Um, my
I got an
questions.
email
Yeah.
from we use a it's not Loom, it's another video recording service. Sorry, you just made me laugh because you reminded me about this. It's another screen recording system, not Loom, but basically the same as Loom. And I got an email from, it's from the CEO, this isn't it to everyone anyway, but it's like, hey, hey Gary, it's whatever his name was here. Just
Yeah.
wondering if you could help us out with a quick 7-minute survey. I emailed him back and went, dude, 7 minutes? Not a chance. Like,
I don't
make
know.
things easy for people, right? Make it really
Yeah.
easy. Like, you can't expect people, like, 7 minutes, and it's not long, but like, who's doing that? And make it easy for people as well in their journey to go through all the systems, but then make
Yeah.
it easy for them to come back around in that journey. And I'll give you
Yeah.
another example. I had a thing last week with a property development company, right? We are looking to get another property. So I was talking to them and they said, "Oh, do you know what your borrowing capacity is at the moment?" I said, "No, I don't." I said, "We just finished building a house. This is where we're at. Those things." I said, "I haven't done anything." They said, "Do you have a broker?" I said, "No, don't have a specific broker." So would you like to speak to us? And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And then they went through the rest of their thing, whatever it was, and said, "Okay." And they said, "Well, we need you to have a chat to a broker as the next step, so you know what your borrowing capacity is, so that we could see what you could do." I said, "Great, that sounds cool." And they said, "All right, well, thank you very much." And the call was ended, and they didn't send me their details for their broker. No one followed up with me, and I'm just like, "Well, what, you want me to chase you guys up so I can talk to your broker?" I don't think so. So I'm like, "There's nothing happening with them because I'm not chasing them down." You know?
That's crazy.
Yeah, people need
That's
to
I can't even wrap
like
my mind around that.
make it easy for your clients. Like people are busy, and they've got lives,
Yeah.
they've got things going on. When they're picking up your ad, first of all, you touched on this at the beginning, you don't know where they are, whether they're in the supermarket queue, they're lying in bed, they just got 2 minutes
Give
in
them as
between
many
something.
options.
Yeah, give them
Give them as
options,
many
come back
options.
to them, follow up, make life easy for people that you are trying to do business with at the end of the day, because
Yeah.
they don't want their
Yeah.
life to be hard. And if you can make it easy for them, they're going to work with you over anyone else and just go,
Sure.
"Oh, they'll even pay more for easy at the end of the day." They go,
People pay more for easy every time they go to a gas station and get candy because you could buy it at Walmart way cheaper, but they buy it there because it's easy. No one, they don't want to drive over to Walmart or whatever, you know?
yeah, I've just done it. I've just changed some services with our accountant because our last accountant was not making things easy for me. I was like, "Dude, I
Yeah.
need I need these other things," and they weren't doing it, weren't doing it. I was like, "Man, you're gone. We're paying another accountant. We're paying them more money because this is what I want." And my accountant wasn't doing it. So it's
Yeah.
like, "Well, you've just lost us as a client." So
It's capitalism, and you have the choice to you gotta meet people, you gotta exceed people's expectations. I think that's really the goal. And the last thing I want to say about copy and lead journey is compliment people every opportunity you have. When I was running the questionnaire, if they got through it all, it said, "Awesome, you're qualified for day one coverage. This is great." Like celebrate, give them that dopamine rush. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't just be robotic about the copy on the page. Like by the time they get through that funnel, they should almost like you want to generate. People make decisions based on emotion. They have memories based on emotion. Most people when they think about big experiences in their life, good or bad, they were very emotionally charged experiences, right? The things that get forgotten are the things that your brain doesn't really tie to much emotion or dopamine or anything like that. So in your marketing, make them the hero. Every chance you can, make your prospect the hero. It's not about you, it's about them and what they want and what they need, and how easy it is for them to get there and how awesome it's going to be when they have it. It's all about them. And so when you can show that, even in your AI prompting, right? I have a offer for voice AI that I just launched, and I went live with it like 2 days ago, and I'm running some cold email campaigns just to kind of see with contractors and stuff. But it does that. It answers back. If it asks a question and you give an answer, it replies in context to your answer before asking another question, because that's how humans communicate. And if you say something good, it's going to be, "Oh, it's awesome." And if you're saying something bad, it's going to be empathetic and reply in context, empathetically with whatever the concern is. That is that type of back and forth, right? That dance, it's just like you would do on a sales call. It's literally all the same type of stuff. It's basically the old school way of marketing, which was the first half of a sales call, can now be pushed up into automation. And with AI, you can now really make that, you can generate, the ultimate goal is to generate that emotion of like, "Hey, I'm really comfortable with this," saying, not to like, people think voice, "Oh, it's got to sound like a real human." It's like, I don't think that really matters as much as what it's actually saying, and if the person feels like they're getting what they want where they want to go, and that's really, you know, my whole thing on that. But yeah, pushing that everything you can into automation, into AI, from the marketing side, and now being able to dial in the psychology that used to only be reserved for humans because only a human could really do it. I mean, you can have messaging and stuff, um, but it's just even better now. And I think that's kind of where the future is going with all this is, building out AI to be more personalized in that capacity, and more emotionally driving people to where you want them to go versus just lead qualification with a couple questions. And then, that's really not all that valuable to your prospects. You know, anybody can do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true, mate. Yeah, to having the AI, as long as people are getting what they want, I think that AI can be amazing for that as well. And I'm still I love AI. I'm still in the camp of not trying to represent AI as humans. I think that that can be a mistake.
Yeah.
I think people do that, and then that can be if the people figure it out,
Agree
it's like yeah,
completely.
that's not real. But yeah, as long as people are getting what they want, then like I'm pretty happy if I chat to a bot and I know it's a bot and it's giving me the information I want. I'm like super cool. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
You,
I'm done.
yeah.
I'm out.
You started the call with a goal in mind, and the faster you can get there, the better. And a lot of people, you say, "Well, I hate this phone systems. I want to talk to a real person." I was like, "No, it's not that you hate phone systems. It's that you hate crappy IVR phone systems that
Mm.
don't give you what you want, and therefore you want to talk to a person. But if you had a system that worked well, you'd probably be fine with that." You know what I mean? And so that's really what it comes down to. It's like, oh, we got to make it sound like a human. I'm like, yeah, but what is it actually saying and asking? And how is it carrying the conversation? What does the conversation flow look like? Is it going through discovery questions? Is it doing objection handling? Is it helping somebody? People complain online all the time. Oh, I have this AI voice chat. People are just hanging up on it, and it's like, and then you go to the demo, and it's like you say, "Oh, I'm so and so." Like, "Oh, they're not here. Can I get your name?" It's just the same exact thing they did on Facebook. Someone says, "Learn more," and they slam them with a bunch of questions. That's all the AI is doing is that it's like they call and the first thing it starts doing is asking for contact information. Of course, everyone's going to hang up on you because you're not developing the lead journey appropriately to work with human psychology. Like
Mm.
that, it's the same principle, whether it's AI, your funnel, cold email, all of it. It's each one of those steps. How do we, I mean, so
All right, mate. Well, let's talk about some wins here, like winning through things. So winning through Facebook ads, how you get your messaging dialed in, using that
yeah,
automation, some of the results that you've got through there, like putting all this stuff together. Let's talk about some of
sure.
that.
Yeah. So on the Facebook ad side, just to accompany this, I can put some links in the chat too for have you done this with yes, I have done this with a high level conversational bot, both text and voice. My
Is that pretty good now? Like I've never used a high level bot, but I believe
I
it's a
have
lot better now.
It is a lot better now. I have a live demo on that landing page of me doing three different types of calls with the voice AI with one prompt. One is a call for new construction, one is a call for service, and one is a call for the frustrated, angry customer. And the AI handles all three like perfectly with one prompt without having to change anything. So that's just so you can see. Now with the conversational AI, it's actually even more dynamic. It's because you can train the conversational AI on the company's information with high level versus right now you can't really train the voice AI directly, but the voice AI does have knowledge outside of what's in the prompt. So it can talk about industry specific terms and things like that. So you can absolutely use like, both. With that. Even myCRMSIM, you can integrate, with either one of them, however you see fit. Um, so on the wins, um, going from buying leads and being told I don't understand who you are or why you're calling me to, you know, waking up or having my phone every 5 minutes. So new calendar appointment, new calendar appointment, new calendar appointment. Right. That's a long journey to go from one point to the other. So that was a big win. Implementing a lot of what I just talked about. There's no one thing. It is all the little things. It's the million tiny BBs as as Hormozy talks about the golden BBs, right? It's not the one big bullet. And so that's that really for Facebook ads. I would really recommend if you don't have a lot of money, going with I'll put the links in here. I went through both of these myself. I'm not just pitching them, and I don't have affiliate links for them or anything. But Ben Heath with Lead Gurus, and for like a higher ticket training, and Laura Portier, she does like a $7 a month program, and it's actually pretty good. So I can put those in there
Yeah,
for Facebook ads.
drop them in. We
Um,
can add them to links after here.
yeah, because those are if it really can put it, you're not going to get it all from one call, obviously. And then so here on the biggest thing as far as anything goes, is just don't slow your leads down and don't stop them. Bring them as far in as you can on any type of funnel, whether it's email, YouTube, Facebook, whatever vertical you have. Um, don't put friction. Don't make a, even if you're cold calling, don't have a two. If you can do a one call close, do a one call close. Don't purpose. I've seen people do purposely schedule two call close. Why? You know what I mean? Why are we doing this? So it doesn't matter what vertical you're using for marketing or customer acquisition lead gen. Don't add unnecessary friction just because there's just no reason to do that. And then hooks and story arcs. That's really the idea from so every click right is a hook, and then every page answers the last questions and opens the next. So that's that like give and take of curiosity built, satisfaction, but then you're building the next curiosity. It's the same process if you're doing content to keep people watching throughout a video. That is the same thing you apply in each step in your funnel. Because if you give them too much, then they have enough to make a decision. So you never want to do that. But if you don't give them enough, then they lose interest and they don't want to move forward. So you don't want to do that. So that's where that bell curve is of like giving enough information to drive interest and desire and satisfy that along the way. Or not giving enough information where they're like, well, this is pointless, a waste of my time. So those are the main things I would say. I kind of, were driving factors for wins for me when I implemented those. It was like, okay, now it's like floodgates are open. I can just spend money on ads and watch leads come in if you're going to go paid ads route.
Perfect, man. And then what about I think we've kind of talked about this, but anyway, but like the future of lead nurturing about AI, so like where we're using AI in our funnel compared to where we're then getting
Yeah.
humans involved as well, like that lead nurturing process. I think we've probably covered a good bit of this anyway, but like,
There's yeah, there's a part we can get in here that I think is important. Where AI fits today best if you're trying to sell AI as any type of service, which I think you should, um, if you can, especially with how easy high level makes it, and now even with my CRM sim, you don't even need to deal with any A2P stuff if you're going to start out that route. Um, if it's basically, is it an inbound business or is it an outbound business? And depending on the business model and its primary marketing vertical will determine where you plug in the AI. And what I mean is, if it's an inbound business, right, you can go to Google Analytics and you can see, like, at least in the US, some of the top near me searches are like plumbers near me, HVAC, AC repair near me, computer repair near me, right? Those businesses have a massive inbound search volume that's just constant all the time. So if those companies just set up a Google business profile and do some local SEO and start ranking in Google Maps, they're going to get their phone ringing constantly, right? That's why those businesses, their biggest bottleneck and where AI plugs in the easiest with local service is them missing phone calls, right? Because that's why high level pushed missed call text back as like the primary training. That was like their lead magnet for forever till now it's essentially voice AI for inbound calls, because that's the lowest hanging fruit and the easiest thing that you can go to a business owner and say, hey, I got this thing. You literally just turn on conditional call forwarding and the AI will answer instead of it going to voicemail, and you'll get a text with the whole conversation or whatever you want to do with the information, right? You can set automations for whatever you want. Like, they understand that. They know. Then they give you that calculator you can use. I have one on my website that I built that's custom, right there, where you can put in how many calls you miss and whatnot. So for an inbound business, AI on the front end there is going to be a good way to go. And then AI on the back end, which we've had for a while now with Google Review, automations and stuff like that, where you're replying. And now high level lets you customize the types of replies instead of just having like for the most part, they were like pre-canned responses. I know it was AI, but they were kind of all the same. Now you can change the tone. You can do a lot of stuff in there with that. Those two AI services, like, that's all, because the demand is just constantly there. If it's a local service business that you're servicing, that's all they're going to need. They can just go forever on that, because that's going to get referrals continuously. That you don't, and those two AI services are easy for the business to understand. Now, on the more complicated side, which was the industry I was in, and you talk about like high ticket stuff or whatever, there's nobody. I mean, people search for life insurance, but it's not like that, right? You still got to do outbound. And even within service industry, like roofing is a big outbound niche, even though it's in home services versus like electrical work is an inbound. because of the nature of roofing. They're storm chasing, they're door knocking, they're doing all this outbound stuff, but not a lot of people call. Like someone might if they have like a roof leak, but there's just not a lot of calls inbound, like for HVAC, for example, or plumbing, because there's a lot more stuff going on in people's homes where they're going to need to call in for that kind of stuff. So even though it's a home service type industry, it's an outbound business. So you really got to need to know details in the weeds, because if you try to sell them a service that's going to answer missed calls, that might not be as valuable as if you sell them a service that qualifies leads with AI, because they're with the ads that they're running, right? Because they're trying to do outbound. To me, running ads is an outbound effort. Even though you're generating inbound traffic, you're still display advertising. That
Yeah,
is,
enriching.
you're taking your stuff and showing it to people who don't know who you are. That's outbound. So if the business is outbound, you're going to want to probably use a conversational AI via text in order to qualify leads or whatnot. Really, the lead qualification should happen on Facebook before the lead data even comes in, because you're just going to get a lot of trash if you don't do that. Um, and but the leads can still can still follow up, right, via text or however you want to structure what's best for the business. um, so I would say texting and or other platforms if they're coming in with WhatsApp or whatnot, or if it's services for like coaching or whatever, that's going to be more, maybe you're having someone running some content marketing on Instagram and it says, hey, type in such and such below, and now your AI is going to respond, using high level to that, right? The person watched the short, they typed in, send me the free guide, and now you're bringing leads in that way, right? So whatever you're doing, whatever vertical you're using for your marketing, you know, if it's outbound, the AI is going to be on the front end like that. You're not really going to have a Google business profile or anything local for that type of business. So you don't need to worry about those. But then voice AI on the local side. So really depends on what niche you're in to determine where plugging in the AI in the funnel, it will be best.
Perfect, mate. Well, we're heading towards sort of at the end of our time here, mate. We've covered a lot of stuff in there as well, right? So we're gonna make sure we'll put this video up and descriptions and links for all these things. I just want to check, has anyone else got any other questions here before we sort of wrap this up towards the end as
Yeah.
well?
I'm popping these links in here for the two. If you want training on Facebook ads, those two I have personally gone through. I've spent thousands of dollars on Facebook ad training. And if you are broke and want to just watch their YouTube content, here's their two channels. They have tons of stuff on there. You can go from 0 to 1 with the free stuff. I always recommend that. Um, or the very first one, the adcoachingfor7.com. That's really, the amount of value she puts out there for $7 a month is like, it's like a gym membership that's cheap. You just keep it because it's good to have. Um, and so those would be where I'd recommend.
Nothing wrong with those links, mate. They don't seem to work actually. Admaster 365. They're not loading for me. They're turning up 404
They're
errors.
loading here. I just checked the first one. That one came up. Second one.
Ad coaching works, ad masters, and the YouTube channel one did not work.
Okay, hold on. That's
That
weird.
worked for me.
They worked for you? Must be a me thing.
Yeah, it's not working for me neither. It's like showing like ClickFunnels page, I think.
Yeah, it's like they're taking the funnel
The
page.
last one the Ad Masters one, I just sent in the full link with all that stuff. That one should work for that.
Ah, yeah, got that. Okay,
The
cool.
YouTube ones are right off their page. The YouTube one should work.
She's missing the.
Yeah, it works for me. So
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, it's missing the
Oh.
W off the end of the YouTube one. I just got it. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Is
Yeah,
it-
so we'll put those links with this video as well. If anyone wants to look at that kind of stuff there, man. And
Yeah, I mean, great content with those guys.
let's pop yours up too. I've got your YouTube link here as well, Matt. So we'll put that up. I know you've just well, you've had your YouTube channel for a little while, but I know you've only just really started putting some of this into there as well. So I definitely recommend that
Yeah.
people connect with you. We'll put your YouTube link below as well there, mate. Thank you so
Yeah, let
much.
me I'll grab mine. Are you I can do it.
I've got it there, mate. Yeah, I've got
Oh,
it.
you have it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got that. So we'll just gather all those links up, mate, so we can put
Yeah,
everything
I was
together
gonna
at
try
the
and
end
do
there.
another video today. It's long form content is a beast, man. It's not easy.
That's the thing, all right. So, like, hopefully, anyone watching this, if we have any questions, please pop them in the chat or pop your hand up. But hopefully, people have grabbed some nuggets out of here. Like, you've covered a lot of stuff, right? And I think this is the thing with these conversations. We need more of them. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
you're not going to get everything out of this one conversation, even though there's
Mhm.
so many things in there. There's bits in there that, you'll watch it once, and if you're not familiar with it, you'll kind of miss or you'll skip over. So you have to do it again, and then you've got to go out and implement and practice and do that with some clients and implement. So there's nothing like the doing at the end of the day to actually get it
Oh,
done and figure
absolutely.
these things out. But
Yep.
these conversations and this information, like, thank you for sharing, Jared. Like I said, you drop absolute nuggets in the high level forum all the time. So definitely people should connect with you, follow you in there, follow you on your YouTube channel, because you just have to keep doing at the end of the day. Like, you'll learn through experience, and then we'll also learn through conversations like this and hear from people that have been through and done these things, because there's lots of subtleties to things, like lots of subtleties. Like I talk about this, and
Yes.
I'm doing a lot more with this now with our clients on like text messaging, and just like the difference that you can make. And I'm not even talking about like the conversion rates and stuff like that, but the difference you can make with like your delivery rates in your text messaging by just making some tweaks in there. Like, I've gone through this in the last few weeks with clients where they couldn't get their text messages to work and they were getting their SIM cards
Mhm.
flagged. We fixed that. Just hey, these are the tweaks that we need to make. So there's
Yeah.
just lots and lots of little things, and there is nothing like experience. What's that thing with the guy that comes along and they say, "Oh, this machine's broken," and he comes along with his hammer and he like taps it and the machine starts
Yeah.
working. And then like, how much is that? And he goes, $10,000. And like, what do you mean
Yeah.
$10,000? He's like, well, that's the experience that I've got because I know where to tap it to
Yeah.
fix it in 5 minutes, Or you can
Yeah.
pay someone else and they're going to come for hours and pull your machine apart, and your factory's going to be down
Uh,
for days. Um, so yeah, experience, man. Just got to get into it, eh?
yep. Yep. That is so true on so many levels. Even with this stuff, you can spend a lot of time doing something that's you don't know it's not really going to go anywhere until you find out this is a dead end. But then people spend $50,000 to go sit in a seat with a mastermind for a weekend, and they're all like, "Yep, totally worth it. I would have spent more." Why? Because that guy knew exactly where to hit the hammer. That would have taken the other person 2 years to figure out, and they're like, "It's worth it," you know. Um, but yeah, so it's a very applicable concept across the board for sure.
That's why I love this. I love doing this for our group and having these conversations, having different people's point of views, bringing it in. It's awesome. So, mate, thank you so much for
Yep.
coming along today. Appreciate that. We'll get this up on our YouTube channel, and this is our imperfect action. Like, our YouTube channel, it's not great. Like, we don't have like good thumbnail covers. We just put it up there. We're working on that. That's one of our things. But at the end of the day, we put it up there. I
Yeah.
even know like the number of views on our videos, they're not that high, right? We're not getting thousands of views on our videos, but the number of people that contact me and they go, "Hey, I just watched your content. I've seen you do this. I like that." And they actually come to
Yeah.
us because they've just seen our content, even though it's imperfect. It's just conversations we have
Sure.
like this with people.
Sure.
It's very authentic, and we're just trying to help people there. So,
That brought up a very important point that I missed. It doesn't matter as long as you can get some content out there, you will have a exponential return on your paid ads because nowadays this was a part of the end. Paid ads, people are going to see the ad, but if they book an appointment, they're going to snoop around on you before that appointment time. And you
mm,
can lose the deal before it ever starts if they're a ghost town and you got nothing about you anywhere. If you're the best kept secret, you're not helping anybody. So even if you stink at content, put out something. Put at least just get your name when they Google you to show some results somewhere showing what you're selling because they're going to think it's a scam if they click on it and they book a call and then they look and there's nothing anywhere. And that is a huge thing nowadays where we're going, where the trust level is so low
yeah,
that you just have to, even if you just talk about what you're selling, and people say, oh, I don't want my YouTube channel to be a sales page. Look, if you're just trying to primarily run ads and that's your lead gen side of it, give your ads the rising tide that lifts all the boats. Put some stuff on a YouTube channel, like it's a very leveraged effort across the board. And maybe you'll like doing content, who knows? So
great,
forgot about that.
great
Very
stuff,
cool.
mate. Thank you so much, Jared. Really appreciate your time,
Yep.
mate. Talk to you again soon.
Alrighty.
Thanks, mate.
Perfect. See ya.